The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. Jesus and his disciples set out for the villages of Caesarea Philippi. Along the way, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They said in reply, "John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others one of the prophets." And he asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter said to him in reply, "You are the Christ." Then he warned them not to tell anyone about him. He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed and rise after 3 days. He spoke this openly. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. At this, he turned around and looking at his disciples, rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." He summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and that of the gospel will save it." The gospel of the Lord. One day, one senior citizen, a lady, went to the church, and then she sat right in the first pew. And one person who was in the church, how do you call these people? A busybody person? Of course, in a church in another continent, in another country. Went and said to the lady, "You don't want to sit in the first pew." She said, "The pastor is a terrible man. He delivers terrible homilies. He's boring." And she was criticizing the poor pastor. And the lady asked to this busybody person, "Do you know who I am?" And he said, "No." He says, "I am the mother of the pastor." And then the busybody person asked her, "And do you know who I am?" And the lady said, "No." He said, "Good." And then she disappeared. Well, this is supposed to be a joke. Who do you say that I am? Sometimes people are concerned about what other people think about us. Well, there are some people who are mature and they don't really mind what other people might think about other ones. But there are some people who are very interested. And then, one of the main conversations among people is about people, about other people. It's very interesting. Someday we can try to do a kind of test and see what people think about us. Well, that's not a problem, because we may have an idea of who we are, and depends to the people that you ask, they are going to have an idea about yourselves, about ourselves. The most important thing today is to think about Jesus. When Jesus was in the area of Caesarea Philippi, that, by the way, is one of the most beautiful areas in the Holy Land, is one of the sources of the Jordan River, close to a place that is called Banias. Well, in this beautiful place, Jesus is asking to the disciples, "Who do you think that I am?" Well, Jesus was concerned about his own disciples to know who they think about Jesus. And some people say, well, some of the people think that you are John the Baptist. Others one of the prophets. And then Jesus said to them, but who do you say that I am? Well, this question still is for all of us, because many Catholics, many people who are Christians, they go to the Protestant services or to the church, but still do not know Jesus. And this is one of the things that we need to learn, who Jesus is. For us Catholics, the ways in which we catechize the people in many places is great, because we begin with Jesus. When we are children, we begin enjoying the Nativity. And during the Nativity, the Christmas time is and should be one of the most beautiful celebrations. It should be a day of joy. It should be a day in which we began experiencing happiness, because Jesus came to destroy sin and death. And this is what we learn since the beginning, when the Son of Man came and became one like us in everything but sin. That is Jesus. And then we know that Jesus, since the moment that he was born, was adored by the three kings. The three kings went to see Jesus because they went to adore Jesus, because they recognized in Jesus the man, the God who came and became one like us in everything but sin. So they went to worship Jesus, and the shepherds and the angels, and we know the whole beautiful thing about Jesus during the Christmas season. And then Jesus was persecuted. Herod wanted to kill him, and Joseph and Mary had to take Jesus to Egypt. And Jesus experienced what many people experience here in America. Either ourselves or our ancestors came as immigrants. And this is a quite sad experience in one way. It's sad in one way because people who emigrate to another country or another place have to suffer the consequences of this adaptation, the new adaptation to the new country with the new things. Well, Jesus and Mary and Joseph had to go to Egypt. Jesus was a baby. And then he grew up in Egypt with the protection of St. Joseph, with the help of Mary, the mother, who is our mother, and also Mary and Joseph and Jesus protect us always. And then we know what happened. Jesus had a normal life and a hidden life until he decided it was his time. It's time to redeem us. It's time to make the beautiful event of our redemption. And he was baptized at the Jordan River. And this is one of the lessons that all of us need to learn, the humility of Jesus. Because Jesus, God, could have redeemed us in a different way. But no, I choose humility in order to defeat the sin. Now, when Jesus was baptized and he had several followers, it was a beautiful experience. And we know that St. John the Baptist wanted to be baptized by Jesus. He said, no, you are the one who should baptize me. But then Jesus, practicing again humility beyond all telling, he accepted to baptize Jesus. And we know that in the baptism of Jesus, it was a manifestation from God the Father telling, this is my beloved Son. Listen to him. And then we know Jesus began his ministry calling fishermen to the ministry. If you notice, Jesus didn't go to look for the politicians of the time, for the King Herod, or even to the Romans, or went to the teachers or the learned or the wise people. He decided to call his followers shepherds, fishermen, and fishermen who became shepherds. But then Jesus, when he called these fishermen and promised them that he was going to teach them how to be fishers of men, because he needed people to continue in his ministry. And when Jesus called them and they were learning from him and going to one place to another, healing people, blessing people, having meals with them, and Jesus performing the miracles, they were able to know Jesus. But when Jesus asked them, "Who do you think that I am?" Well, Jesus is our God. Jesus is the one who came to redeem us and to teach us the way of happiness to heaven. And this way to happiness in heaven is not easy. In today's gospel, we also see that Jesus is telling to the apostles, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me." Jesus is not promising us that if we follow him, we are not going to have any kind of problems. On the contrary, he is asking us to take up our cross in the same way that he took his cross. And that was not easy. You know that the Calvary, the Stations of the Cross, that we have them in all the churches around the world, we see the drama of the Stations of the Cross. When Jesus was condemned to death, and then he had to carry his own cross to Calvary. Well, for us, we need to learn from Jesus, and we need to carry not a physical cross, but during our lives, we experience wonderful things and sad experiences, sad events. In English, we say ups and downs. Well, this is something that we need to learn how to deal with these two things, the ups and downs. Do you know what? The life of a Christian develops between two mountains, Calvary and Transfiguration Mountain. In Calvary, we experience the pain, the sorrowful. We experience even death and the sad things. And in the Mount of Transfiguration, we experience heaven. Jesus showed himself at the day of the Transfiguration as he is himself. Jesus himself is. Our life develops between two mountains. When everything is fine, we are at the mountain of the Transfiguration. When we experience the sadness because a beloved one is sick in the family, could be your wife, your husband, one of your children, or ourselves. Well, that could be Calvary. And then Calvary and Transfiguration Mountain. Happiness, sadness, and ordinary time. Things when things are neither good or neither bad, but they are ordinary, like the routine of most of us in our daily lives. Well, that is Jesus, the one who teaches us how we can learn and how we can progress and how we can make things better and how we can walk together to heaven. So who is Jesus? Well, we also know that Jesus is with us. In all the sacraments, is Jesus there. The priest and the bishop who perform the sacraments are just the humble channels. Is Jesus the one who absolves the person who goes to confession? Is Jesus himself who we receive when we receive the body of Christ? Is Jesus himself who welcomes the matrimonies? And is Jesus himself who, in the presence of the priest when he's ordained, the priest becomes another Christ, alter Christus. And then we know how the experience of how we learn about Jesus, we can be closer to Jesus. If we do not know one person, that person don't have any meaning for us. We don't even know a person. So how are we going to be able to love a person who we don't even know? If we want to love someone, or if we know someone who could be a friend, a family member, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, or your husband, When you saw that person for the first time, you saw something in the person. And many times it's love. When people express some concern about you, when people show some interest about us, that means that person loves us. Well, Jesus gave his life for us. So when we learn about the love of God for us, our response should be, well, if Jesus is loving me, what I have to do? I have to, in reciprocity, to love Jesus as well. The more that we know Jesus, the more we are able to love him. Jesus is always with us, especially in the sacraments. As a priest, I have the humble experience of listening confessions. And I see how many people go very sad, depressed, to the sacrament of reconciliation, the sacrament of confession. And then when a person receives the forgiveness of the sins, when a person is repented, the person experiences the joy of being forgiven. And when we receive Jesus, we should experience this action of thanksgiving in our hearts, because Jesus comes into our hearts when we receive Jesus, when we consume his body and blood. Jesus comes with us, and then we become the body of Christ. And this is something beautiful. Now, who do you think that I am? It was a very popular song many years ago in my hometown that even today you can hear it. It says something, he is with you, but you do not recognize him. Well, that is the main idea, because I am not going to sing it to you. But it's a beautiful song that says, con vosotros está y no lo conocéis. Con vosotros está, su nombre es el Señor. He is with you, and you do not know him. He is with you, and you do not know him. Now, how we can discover where Jesus is? Easy. Just go to the gospel and see in the gospel that says, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was sad and you gave me consolation. I was naked and you clothed me. And then people who hear these beautiful sentences from Jesus are people who are going to go to heaven, because this is what Jesus says. I was hungry and you gave me food, thirsty and you gave me a drink. So discovering Jesus in our family members, because it's not necessary just to have the idea that a poor person or hungry is a homeless or a poor person who have nothing to do, nothing to eat. Well, people who are hungry can be children, can be your children. When I hear that a child said to the father or mother, I'm hungry, and this is something very powerful. Can you imagine a child telling a father or mother, I'm hungry? And I have listened, children telling the father or mother, I'm hungry. And when the mother goes immediately and give them some food, or the mother or father or the guardian goes and give them food, well, they are recognizing God and Jesus in these little ones who are hungry and thirsty or in need. One day, I did an experiment. I was in an elementary school, and I have so many children during the homily. And I told them, see the person who is on your right, and see the person who is on your left. And then they were looking at the person on the right, and then to the left. And then I asked them, do you see Jesus on that person? The general answer was no. That's why I'm not going to ask you today if you see Jesus on other people. But children are very honest. They say, no, I don't see Jesus in that person. Well, discovering Jesus in the person who is on your right and on your left is what is going to lead us to know Jesus, because Jesus is with us, and very often we do not know him. Know him, Jesus. discovering Jesus on the person who is in need of us for different reasons, because there is always someone we can help. So discovering where Jesus is where we are going to be able to find the inner happiness that comes from knowing Jesus. We can find Jesus in the Eucharist. We can find Jesus in the sacraments. We can find Jesus in one another. This is the Christian community. This is the body of Christ. So we need to be concerned of one another. So in order to continue our celebration, I have a question for you. Jesus today is asking you, who do you think that I am? May God bless you.